Hi, my name's Kaitlyn Madden, and I'm a nurse that works at Langdon Place of Keene in Keene, New Hampshire for Genesis Healthcare. Tonight we're going to go over a PowerPoint that is called the Code Status in the Long-Term Care Facility. First, we're going to start out with the agenda of the PowerPoint. We're going to go over ramifications for not implementing display of code status within our facility. This entails resident safety and well-being not met, potential loss of resident stay, not adapting to medical advancements. Next would be the solution, which are our color-coded wristbands for within the facility. We're going to go over what they are, how they will work, and what the process involves to get them instituted in the facility. After that, we're going to have a conclusion, which is going to have questions and answers at the end of the PowerPoint. First, we're going to go over resident safety not being met. Current display of code status is not safe within our facility. We have no identifier to the patient code status on the resident, and risk to the resident's safety and risk of loss of licensure to healthcare professionals is at stake. I found a quote from a source that I'm going to read to you at the bottom of the screen. Nurses, too, are caught in the dilemma. They are the ones who discover a patient with absent respiration or pulse and who must decide whether to initiate an arrest call or conclude that the patient is dead. Potential loss of resident stay. Success in the continued running of the facility depends on resident satisfaction. If safety, being one of the major factors of living at our facility for our residents, is not met, we will lose clientele. Clientele is what keeps our business running. Without that, we have no facility. Next, we have failing to adapt to medical advancements. The medical field is constantly changing, and it's our responsibility to keep up to date with the most current practices. If we fail to adapt to medical advancements, it will show in our facility and our staff's quality of care. So updating our computer systems, making sure we have laptops to use and bring to resident rooms with us, making sure everything is just up to date to keep our residents safe is number one for us. Next, I have the solution for our company. It's color-coded wristbands. On this slide, you will see that there are two pictures that I have provided. The first picture on the left are the plastic wristbands. The picture to your right is the Tyvek wristband. What are these? The color-coded wristbands come in Tyvek and plastic options, like I stated in the prior slide. The quality, material, and duration of use are different for each product. Tyvek lasts approximately 1 to 3 months. It is waterproof, but due to what it's made out of, it does not have a high rate to last. Plastic lasts around 6 months to 1 year, but again, it depends on the use and how much it gets used by the resident and what it gets put through daily. How will the wristbands work within our facility? So the resident will have a color-coded wristband indicating what their code status is. At our facility, because we are long-term care, it is either going to be a full code status or a do not resuscitate status. Full code status means that you initiate CPR immediately once you know what the resident's code status is, if that's what they are. A DNR code status or do not resuscitate means that the patient wishes not to be resuscitated and you would not start CPR. The next PowerPoint is going over costs for our company. Tyvek bands come in 1,000 per package for $75. The plastic bands come in 500 per package for $100. There is a little bit of difference in cost and quantity depending on what the facility's wanting to get as the product and whether they want something that has a shorter lifespan that costs a little less or something that has a little bit of a longer lifespan that's going to cost just a tad bit more. This is a cost to the company, but it is essential to resident safety and retention within our facility. What will the process involve in getting the wristbands within our facility? Materials needed are the color-coded wristbands. These can be bought at Keene Medical Supply, but there are other suppliers within the area. After choosing which band best suits the resident's safety needs and company costs are calculated, the bands can be ordered. Once the bands come to our facility, in-services will be held and provided to all healthcare staff and what the colors mean and entail. So everyone's going to get a really good rundown as to who is going to need which wristband, what the full code wristband means, and what the DNR code band wristband means. And then we're going to go over with staff what needs to happen once the wristbands are being worn by the residents and what happens if a code is called. The conclusion to this PowerPoint: it is very dangerous the way we have resident code status displayed at this time, and what is that we don't have it displayed at this time, and that is what is so dangerous about this. And that's a big problem. With the implementation of the color-coded wristbands, we decrease the likelihood of a sentinel event in our facility drastically, and this is major. We need a solution to this, and the best option are the color-coded wristbands. Now, really quickly, I just want to add something in case you are unfamiliar with what a sentinel event within a facility is. This is a major catastrophic event that could potentially shut down a facility. I'm going to give you an example of what could happen during a sentinel event. So a code status is not displayed properly and a code is called. The nurse on duty has to run to where the resident is, and they have to figure out what the resident's code status is. So not having a wristband on the resident, you would have to run back to the area of where the charts are kept. At my facility, it's a pretty long distance, and in order to run to the code, run back to the charts, then run back to the resident, it's going to take you approximately 3 to 4 minutes. Now, I am an assisted living facility, so we are very large and we are very spread out due to the capacity of how many residents we hold within our facility and where the rooms and other areas are located. So once you figure out that you have no idea what the code status is of the resident, you're going to run back to the charts. You're going to flip through the chart of the resident once you find it. You're going to locate if they are a full code or DNR. In this case, for example, we're going to say they are a full code, so you must initiate CPR immediately. You have to leave the area where the chart is. You have to go back to the resident and where they are, and then you have to initiate CPR. The big issue with this is that CPR, once somebody has stopped breathing, needs to be immediate, not 3, 4, 5 minutes later, because the person's already dead at this point and you're not going to get them back most likely. This is what would be a sentinel event, is that somebody was a full code status and didn't get proper treatment immediately the way they should have, because we don't have proper display of who is what code status. Color-coded wristbands, questions and answers. So what I did prior to this slideshow was going to my facilities administrator and just talking to her about what our policy and procedures are for the code status of resident display. I have worked at another facility where they did have stickers on the front of the charts. It did not have the name of the resident and what the actual code status meant, but it did have either a pink or a green sticker on the chart. The green meant that the person was a full code status and that you would initiate CPR. The pink was a DNR code status and that you would not initiate anything, and that the resident was just pronounced dead. The issue with this, when they had the state come in, was that at some point somebody is able to figure out just by looking at the colors what a resident code status is. Therefore, it's a HIPAA violation, and the facility that I worked at was tagged during a state review, and it went against the facility, and this is major. So from there on out, when you go into facilities and long-term care and you see resident charts, you're not going to see any form of display for what a code status is. It's within the chart, and you have to kind of go through the index to try to find where it is. So somebody who's not familiar with how to find it, it could potentially take you minutes to flip through to try to find what you're looking for. So after talking with my administrator, I didn't really have a good understanding of who oversees what is and isn't a HIPAA violation within the facility, and who makes the laws and regulations for the code status within our facility, within other long-term care facilities, and within New Hampshire. She said the way that we have it at our facility is that it's a Genesis policy that we do not display resident code status out in the open. There are state laws that are a little bit more specific as to what you can and can't do, but just per Genesis, we'll keep it at this just for the presentation, that we do not do any outward display of what someone is because they feel it's a HIPAA violation. So I went over the issue that I had and said, you know, I'm a nurse working at this center. I'm going to give you an example. Somebody codes in the dining room and their chart is up in assisted living where the nurse's station is. It's on a whole other level of the facility. On the second level, you have to go to the chart. If that happens, you have to run all the way there, figure out what the person is, run all the way back like I had mentioned earlier in the PowerPoint. And then once you figure it out, then you can either perform CPR or the person's pronounced dead. So I asked her if CPR is such a time sensitive matter, why are we spending so much time running back and forth and trying to figure out who's what code status? And she said, honestly, I don't have a good answer for you, and that's a really good point. Me being a nurse within the facility, I worked extremely hard to get my license. I paid a lot of money for it, and I value it extremely. So this is a risk to my license, making it so I have to do all the legwork and not knowing what the person's code status is right there up front. If we have these wristbands on the residents, we are able to identify immediately if somebody were to code what their code status is, saving us minutes and potentially saving the person's life. And this is why it's so important that we initiate these wristbands within our facility. I value my license, I value the facility I work at, and I value, most importantly, the residents' safety and well-being. With that being said, this is my PowerPoint presentation on the color-coded wristbands that I feel is necessary at our facility to keep it running. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Have a good night.